To start the meeting, so I'll call to order this meeting, and we'll start with a roll call.
Okay, Member Baldwin?
Here.
Member Carlton? Here. Member Green?
Here.
Member Wan?
Here.
Member Shaw?
Here.
Chair Chen?
Here. Start the meeting, so, okay, so I'll start us off with the land acknowledgement. The City of Albany recognizes that we occupy the land originally protected by the Confederated Villages of Louisiana. We acknowledge the genocide that took place on these lands and must make strides to repay the moral debt that is owed to the indigenous people, specifically the Ohlone tribe. We thank them for their contributions, which have transformed our community and will continue to bring forth growth and unity. The City of Albany commits to sustaining ongoing relationships with the tribe and together build a better future for all that now make this their home. Okay, then next we'll move on to the minutes from the last meeting, which was in May.
Does anybody need me to bring those minutes up for you to review?
Okay.
No, I think I'm fine.
Then I'll just motion to approve those minutes from last time.
Second.
Okay, we'll do a approval of the minutes. Member Baldwin?
Aye.
Member Carlton?
Aye.
Member Green?
Aye.
Member Wan?
Aye.
Member Shaw?
Aye.
Chair Chen?
Okay, then next on our agenda is public comment. So if there's anybody in the audience or online that wants to give a public comment at this point.
We see one in the room. Oh, you're going to that one, okay.
Is this okay?
Public, well, that's one that says public comment.
I'm Naomi Siegel. I'm part of the Albany Film Fest, and I'm just here to welcome you all to come to the next Albany Film Fest. It's going to be in October at the Cerrito Theater because we no longer have our Albany twin. But last year we were at the Cerrito, and it was fabulous. We sold out our shows, and we were very happy. And I don't know if you've ever been, but if you haven't, this is a great time to come. It's a shorts festival. We'll have 3 shows. The first one will be our Green Fest, which is all environmental-focused shorts. The second 2 are just our usual eclectic shorts that run the gamut of everything. And I'm going to have to read this, but for the 3rd year in a row, we are honored to present the Joseph Andre McCord Award for Best Short Film on the theme of social justice and racial equality. So there will be films on those topics. There'll be comedies, animations, dramas, documentaries. It's quite a cool selection, actually, this year. And in addition, we also talked to this El Cerrito Arts and Culture Commission just slightly, like I'm doing tonight, and encouraging them to work with us to any degree they felt possible. And I would love to encourage anyone on the committee to either work individually with us, or if the committee felt like arts and film was actually a reasonable combo, to just work with us as a committee, and we'd be happy to come talk to you and be on your agenda. So if that's something you'd like to do, you know. And I also brought our postcards, and I'll leave them with Jeremy. And it is our 14th year, and no one is more amazed than I am. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I assume this might be something we can get on maybe the e-news?
Yes, well, yeah, the city has an affiliation with Albany Film
Okay.
Fest, and,
Awesome.
and under announcements, I can talk a little bit about that.
Great.
Thank you, Naomi. Are there any other public comments online?
I'm not seeing any at the moment, but if there is anybody who would like to raise their hand, please go ahead and do so now in Zoom, and we can call on you. Thank you. No.
All right, then we can move on to announcements. So any announcements?
I'll just make two announcements in that we have 17 applications, solid applications for the mural project. So congratulations to everybody for helping to put the word out. They're all professional artists and they're all of high caliber. So just wanted to share that with everybody. And now we'll be looking towards foyer gallery. Hopefully we'll get, a good batch. It seemed they come in like within the last week. So no matter when we set the deadline, most of them and from the other people in the arts that I've spoken with, usually the applications come in at the deadline. The other thing that I figured that I would mention too is I spent probably close to a decade as the technical director of the Albany Film Festival, putting together all the films. And even though Film Fest has split from the city and now they're working as their own nonprofit organization and kind of standing on their own, there's still a link between Film Fest and the city of Albany. The city of Albany has sponsored the last 3 years to different degrees. I think it would be beneficial for if the Arts Committee could look at kind of film in the community and how that can be expanded. One of the things that, from our media production point of view is we've outfitted a number of our facilities with higher quality presentation projectors that are color accurate with good sound, especially now. That's one of the projects that I'm finishing up this summer is the community center so that we'll be able to show good films and have it sound good. Can't do much about comfortable seating there. In the past when we did Film Fest events, they were all-day events, 8-10 hours worth of watching films, multiple shows, and those plastic chairs were a bit of a challenge. So we rented couches and people sat on couches and it was cool, but a lot of people not sitting in movie theater seats. You got about a 90-minute max on your body. Those are my announcements from staff.
How do you recommend we let them know that we want to help work with them?
So since I think for the time being, as Emily departs, we'll look at the vice chair for the next meeting, and then we'll come up with adding it to the agenda and seeing what we can do.
We could contact them individually.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that would be unofficial if you contacted them unofficially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, find out more. Certainly in the same way that the Arts Committee invited Seen and Heard to make a presentation and talk about their organization, their activities. You could do the same thing for Film Fest. That might be a good starting point.
Yeah, in an individual context, 2 years ago, I volunteered with Albany Film Fest. When the Albany Twin unfortunately closed, I was very surprised in a pleasant way that they were able to find a new space at the Rialto. So kudos to them for going on 14 years, and I recommend at the very least checking out the festival. And if you want to get more involved, email Naomi, whose email I have. It may even be on this thing about getting involved.
You can also go to the website. The albanyfilmfest.org has all the information, contact information, how to get involved.
I guess another announcement I should make, since maybe not everybody knows, is that I'm leaving the Arts Committee because I am in the process of moving away. So this will be my last meeting here. So thank you guys for making this a really awesome experience and a great committee to chair. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a really good experience for me. So thank you guys for just making this experience awesome. I'm gonna look into it. Doing this in my new city up in Arcata too. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. maybe, I guess, at the next future agenda items, that's when we would want to discuss how to move forward without me after this. Okay, are there any other announcements?
No?
Then we can move on to presentations, which I don't think there's any presentations today. So then we can move on to the Albany Mural Project. So I guess this is specifically about the selection process, and there might be some decisions that we have to make at this point. If either Harsh or Deirdre want to talk about this?
Well, I can start and just kind of give you an overview. Tonight, the subcommittee for murals has put together a recommendation for the committee to look at and discuss and potentially decide upon. The Arts Committee needs to create a panel to review all of the applications in an impartial manner, and this is a process that's lined out in the Arts Master Plan, and Harsh and Deirdre have done the work of putting together a plan, which they'll go over with you tonight. There is no need, you don't need to vote on this item, but we want to make sure that everybody is well aware of what's happening, and if there are any other opinions or thoughts or considerations, this would be the time to do it. This is in the interest of trying to move fast and not have the artists wait too long, especially since this is coming now in July. We don't want the artists to have to wait for a couple of months for us to do this again. That's why we kind of tasked the subcommittee to do the work, put the thought in, look at the people who could be judges, and come back to a recommendation from the committee. So with that,
Yeah, okay, so I'm excited that we're actually here, and we've got 17 applicants, 17 solid applicants, and as part of the next step in the process, we basically have to create a selection committee because this is a project that has more than $10,000 budgeted or associated with it. And the makeup of that panel, there's some sort of like technical sort of makeup that has to happen for the panel, which is to say there has to be at least, I think, 3 voting members, of whom there is arts professionals, artists, community members, and neighborhood representatives. But there has to be more arts professionals than non-arts arts professionals
On the voting map.
on the voting side. And then as part of the selection panel, there are also a group of folks that are non-voting members, which include Deirdre and myself. It turns out we don't actually have a say in who the finalist is. Yeah, so we've already talked to all of these people. And they have all agreed to be on the selection panel. So just kind of do a quick walkthrough. Aaron Gatch, who was the chair of the Arts Committee when I was on it from 2020 to 2022. Aaron is also a professor at the CCA and has also taught at UC Davis and other renowned institutions. Eugenie Su, who gave his presentation on Seen and Heard, so that would be a community member. And then finally Cass Linden, who runs Cass Ceramics, who's a ceramicist and curator and operator of the studio. And then we've got the non-voting members, which includes Deirdre and myself, Jeremy, who has just been instrumental in helping us kind of connect with the city and figure out how to move this process forward. And finally, Jennifer Easton, who works for BART as the arts program manager and who has been helping kind of shepherd this process on the arts side. All of the voting members are from the Albany community or have ties or connections to the Albany community. And we also have a proposed honorarium for the voting members on the committee, which is $300. This will probably be multiple hours of work. So initially when we reached out to them, we actually, we weren't offering an honorarium, but we kind of went back and thought it would be fair to do so, and it's common to do so in the arts world. It's a good practice. And that will be funded through the Murals Project budget, so we're not kind of stripping away funds from anywhere else. I think that's really it. So from here, we review this panel tonight, want to hear any comments or thoughts that folks might have. And then from there, the panel itself will review the 17 submissions that have come in and select a finalist based on a rubric that we are working on. The rubric will follow a standard form that has been used for arts projects in the past, just kind of using best practice there. And then finally, we will come back to the Arts Committee with the finalist recommendation, and it will be up to the Arts Committee to say, yes, this sounds good. We'd like to go ahead and approve this and move forward with this recommendation to council after that. And so that's laid out in the timeline. Yeah. I'll open the floor for questions or comments.
So originally, we had mentioned the having three selecting three people, and the three of them do propose something. Is that still the plan, or that's not the plan anymore? Or?
So yeah, originally that was the plan. And I think we were originally hoping to do that, but when we actually ended up looking back at the arts master plan for the city of Albany, there's an actual process that is laid out that basically says you only choose one finalist, and so we'll be following the arts master plan for the city, just to keep things streamlined. Is that?
Yeah, that's correct. It comes down to what's fair for artists and what the budget would allow. If there was, say, a budget to hire and pay for 3 different artists to do initial work, it would be significantly higher to bring in those 3 artists to do 3 mock-ups. Then the committee chooses one and then puts that on public display. This is kind of cost-saving, efficiency, and fairness all kind of wrapped into one, because once council approves this, that's when the artist is contracted to build a mock-up that will be on public display for, I think, 3 months for it to receive community feedback. And before anything gets installed or goes up on the walls, the artist and the arts committee would come back together, evaluate with community feedback, make any potential modifications or changes, or maybe everybody loves it or maybe everybody hates it, and then the committee would address that with the artist.
Okay. Did the applicants have to propose something in their application?
So we've asked them to just describe in text form what they would envision going on the wall, but there is no ask for a visual rendering. So just in a couple sentences, what they're imagining.
But they also have submitted links to their work and certain examples and a CV showing where they have installed. So part of what this panel will be doing is reviewing the entirety of the artist's work, and then looking at the application to make sure that they meet all of the criteria for this particular project, and it's at a certain standard. And I think that's part of the rubrics that you will have outlined. The committee will be able to see all of the applications when they are published, along with the agenda for the first meeting of the panel. So the public and the committee will be able to review all of that when the first meeting gets set. And typically we post these agendas and agenda backup for public meetings 3 days in advance. But it could be, with the scope of this project, we may want to set that meeting, post the agenda, maybe 10 days, 2 weeks in advance, something like that, so that both the panel is able to come informed. It will be a public meeting, so the public is invited to attend. However, it'll be more like a work session. The public is able to come in, Arts Committee members, as members of the public, would be able to attend and listen and hear the deliberation and have public comment. But ultimately, it will be the panel doing the work, reviewing everything together, and then doing their rubric. We don't know whether or not it will be one meeting or a series of meetings. It kind of remains to be seen how much, 3 experts with, some feedback from others who are able to do in an hour, 3 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours. It's kind of a no.
Will the meeting be live streamed?
No, it will be live and in person, but not recorded. Mainly because it's a work session.
Are these artists assigned certain spots within the city that they're asked to contribute to?
These are all for the BART pillars. So we have only.
Oh, the BART pillars.
Yeah,
Oh.
these are the 4 BART pillars. We'll choose one artist for all 4 BART pillars.
Okay.
Then it will be up to the Arts Committee after this to make a decision about the remaining 3 locations, whether or not you want to do a call for artists for 3 mural locations or do 3 additional call for artists for 1 per. So this is in our conversations over these last year and a half, this is kind of the beta test for this particular project and workflow, and from this, the Arts Committee will be able to make a determination as to what's the most effective way to do the remainder of the murals as part of this sequence of this project sequence.
I'm sorry, I think I was a little confused. I thought there were 2 subjects there. The BART pillars, obviously, is one. And I thought murals within Albany was a second subject. So we're just talking about the BART pillars right now.
That's right. It's all in the overview in the sheet that we've shared. So these are for the BART pillars in Albany.
But it's part of the Murals Project.
It is part of it. Okay. All right. And there's,
First test drive of it.
That's right.
okay, thanks.
Right, any other questions or comments about the selection process?
Just one on our side, which is, I think, assuming, we move forward with this, Jeremy, I think we'll want to work pretty quickly and closely with you on identifying potential venues for us to be able to meet and timings for that, and see if we can even get it done in July, if that's possible. It might be hard given travel schedules, but.
It may be. It's not impossible to do it in August.
Oh, it's not, okay.
It's not impossible, however.
Oh, great.
But not great.
Okay.
So what we'll
Sorry.
yeah, what we will look at likely will be the community center or the senior center would be probably the 2 locations that may be sized appropriately for a potential group of people around a table. I'm not sure whether or not we need to do any sort of audiovisual support with that, and that will something that I'll look at in terms of how we do presentations, how everybody wants to see the artwork or review all of the documents together. So those will be some things that likely the subcommittee and I will determine over these course of these next couple of months, so that we can hopefully get this started in July. Completed in July, potentially. would be nice. I have some limited availability over these next 2 weeks, and then that puts us towards the end of July, so maybe it is possible, so.
But if we, like, at least could get, like, inform the committee and get their date, you know, like, once we get
Yes.
dates from you, then
Yes.
we can pull them on.
Yeah, and I think it would be probably everybody's local, so it may not be unreasonable to say next week there's going to be a meeting, but I think giving people 2 or 3 weeks' notice
Yeah,
probably
for sure.
would be good.
Plus, we want them to have time to review everything.
Exactly, yeah.
And would these meetings need to be recorded and broadcasted according to the Brown Act?
No, not recorded and broadcast, but they do need to be noticed and open to the public.
Great. Yeah, I think that the honorarium is a good amount and good idea, and I also think it's a lot more, time efficient too, to cut out that middle step of like asking or selecting 3, even though I like that idea, but that would add an extra 2 or 3 months minimum to have that double review process. So I think that's good. Any other comments about the selection?
All these people who are on the selection panel have already been contacted and they've agreed to it?
Correct. We've done the legwork there.
And then do the voting members have to be classified as one of either of the categories, or that's not?
They are. So Aaron Gatch and Cass Linden are the artist professionals, and Eugenie Sue is a community member, and all are sort of known quantities within the city.
I do have one question. Do you think that Jennifer would want to continue for the other murals? I think that was part of one of the things that we were talking about is inviting this particular panel to be available for reviewing the future mural projects. And I think all of them have generally kind of considered it, right?
Yeah, I think for some of them, yeah, we've reached out and mentioned that concept. I think on our side, I think Deirdre and I also just want to see how this first round went as well. Is there someone who's just extremely contentious in their approach, or I think we just want to kind of have a first go and kind of make adjustments as needed. In terms of Jennifer, I mean, she does work for BART, so it seems like it would make less sense for her to weigh in on murals on private property, and she's also a non-voting member, so wouldn't really matter, I guess, to a certain extent. So
Yeah.
what we might want to consider is, and I guess we might want to talk with the city attorney about this, but can the other site owners have a non-voting slot for future panels?
I'll make a note of that. We
Thank you.
can get some clarification on that. Because one thing that's specific to this particular project is that once council approves this, it needs to go to review to the BART board. That's one additional step that will be unique to doing a project on the BART pillars. So we will go through this process. That's one of the main reasons why she's here, so she can call out any potential issues, red flags, things that may prevent it moving forward smoothly through BART channels, so that once it leaves city council with city council's approval, it's a clean trip through BART for approval, because everybody has already been more or less aware about it. And we will also initiate some parts of the process beforehand. I think there's some application stuff that we as a city will need to do that takes a few months. So she's kind of shepherding this through BART channels with us.
Yeah, I think for the future review panels, I'm curious how 3 people will do, like if 3 is a good number to whittle the 17 applications down, and maybe we'll get different amounts of applications in the future ones, but I'm curious about how that goes with having 3 reviewers.
Will we get the opportunity to see all of them and kind of see what was whittled down to the last 5?
All of the applications will be part of the first agenda of the panel meeting.
Okay.
So, and I'll share that with the Arts Committee. You'll be included on the notification if there's not a holiday right before the meeting, and I remember to send it. No, I'll send it out on time. But all of those applications in their entirety, they'll be redacted for some personal contact information, but everything will be viewable. So you'll get a chance to see everything. One of the other things that that I will be doing with the artists in my communication after this meeting is asking if they want to be included on the beginning of a database of Albany artists that we would be able to push out information to for future projects. So if anybody wants to be included on that, then there'll be the beginning of a distribution list with all of these artists. And then they would be, since only one will be selected, the remainder of the artists, would have the opportunity to apply and submit their content again for the other mural project.
All right.
Right. Are we ready to move on to subcommittee updates?
We just need to go to public comment
Right.
first, see if anybody has.
Yes. Are there any public comments or comments online?
So if there's anybody online who would like to make a comment to the committee on the mural selection panel process, please raise your hand if you're on Zoom. I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Right. Then we can move on to the subcommittee updates. And so first,
First, just clarification, everybody is in favor of this and should move forward with this.
Aye.
No, it's not a vote.
Oh, sorry.
But we could vote.
Yes.
If everybody would feel good having a vote to approve this, we could take a motion in a second.
I'm just a little bummed that nobody cares enough to jump in on these meetings.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff here.
Come on.
I'm going to make a motion to approve the Albany Murals Project selection panel.
I second.
Okay. Member Baldwin?
Aye.
Member Carlton?
Aye.
Member Green?
Aye.
Member Wan?
Aye.
Member Shaw?
Me?
Yeah.
Aye.
Yeah. Chair Chen.
Aye. Right. Okay, now we can move on to subcommittee updates. So first, Foyer Art Gallery. Do you have any updates aside from, I guess, how?
Yeah, a little bit. The current exhibit is going well. I walked through the gallery today and saw 2 more pieces were sold, which is pretty cool. And I do need to contact the next artist, Lucy Ames, to run her through the whole what needs to be done and see her art and just talk to her more about the whole exhibiting business, which kind of leads a little bit to, with Emily leaving, that leaves some open spots in the art gallery subcommittee, if anybody's interested. Not to kick you out just that quickly.
Yeah, no, I bet
but-
that Brad is a great subcommittee.
So I've got that, and I also have a question, because we are looking into 2025, and I know Seen and Heard is probably going to move to the next meeting just to discuss. And I've talked to Eugenie a little bit about, I told her she needed to file a application, and I'm a little curious as to why she needs to go through this process.
For Eugenie to do a show at the Foyer Gallery?
Yeah, it's not a typical FOIA project.
Well, so since the Arts Committee doesn't do other programs or installations, they could, doesn't exist a mechanism for the Arts Committee to sponsor a collaborative show at the community center outside of the foyer gallery. So if the Arts Committee wants to I guess my question would be, what is different about Seen and Heard at the community center that makes it not a foyer gallery presentation or exhibition? What would be different that it would need to be approached in a different way? And then, if so, the Arts Committee doesn't really have a mechanism for supporting that other than perhaps the Small Projects Fund, if they wanted to financially support something, but I don't think the Arts Committee has any purview over scheduling facilities to do events, if it was to be an event that wasn't a foyer gallery installation. And if all of that is true, then the Arts Committee would have to decide what it would need to do to support an installation outside of a foyer gallery in a city facility. Like, what does that mean? So those would be the questions. So the easiest thing to do, the fastest thing to do, is have them do an application as Seen and Heard to do a foyer gallery installation, and then potentially add something onto that.
Okay, yeah,
Does that make sense?
I get all that, yeah, that's great. I did get the ball rolling to ask her to apply. And I see we do have future agenda items, so I would like to add the foyer gallery to the future agenda items.
To discuss, that will be on the September meeting, because the committee will have received all of the applications by September. So it will be on the September meeting to have the committee review applications and also discuss other aspects of the foyer gallery. So it kind of leaves you some
Okay.
latitude to discuss.
Okay, yeah, because I have expansive changes I'd like to make.
Okay.
So, just so you all know, they're not expansive, they're really kind of minor. But I think it would make it easier and more accessible to artists. So I will add that to the future agenda items. And it's not necessary to be right away or anything. So yeah, September's fine. And the only other question I have is Susan Moffett still?
I meant to, that was the other update. I forgot to share that with you. Yes, entered into the contract, everything has been signed, and I'm working with her to start scheduling all of the various aspects of that particular project, including what likely would be the final foyer gallery of 2025 would likely be reserved for Susan Moffat's project.
Okay, and just, how did she get through the application process?
Because of the Creative Justice project.
Okay, but how does that get her into the foyer?
Because of the other the other installations as part of that, the entirety of that project, that we looked for some different ways to expand it in the community. And we made some changes based on some limitations of what came in the initial proposal. Once we started hammering out the contract, looking at, well, this is going to be outside, this was going to be inside, this was going to be at the senior center, and we kind of looked at city facilities and thought that by making some changes to what the initial proposal was, or what the artist did, and what the artist wanted to change and what the city wanted to change, we came to an agreement that by doing something more public, concentrated in one location, would be a benefit to the community because it would be all located in one place, and that you may be able to add on some additional discussion and presentation there at the community center.
So it sounded like she was a little bit grandfathered in just based on
Well,
all of this that she was doing. She didn't formally apply to the gallery.
not as part of the foyer program. However, Eugenie hasn't applied to any other arts programs and was not selected already by.
Right,
by
okay,
the-
I get it, yeah.
Right. So the fact that we're already in contract working with an artist and working on accommodating and trying to put things together, that's the reason why we're reserving the foyer gallery for that particular thing. Were there to be another large project that Eugenie was selected for, we would certainly make those kind of accommodations too.
Okay, yeah, I get that. Makes
So that's the distinction.
Okay, yeah, that's all something I want to put on the future agenda items. Thanks. Sorry to bug everybody with my little things and my notes and crap.
For the Susan Moffett, that would be then the foyer gallery subcommittee's responsibility to coordinate that then?
No, that likely would be, that would probably fall on staff if the foyer gallery wants to be involved with that. But it kind of falls, it's more like just reserving the space and taking it off. So I'll likely be looking at 3 artists if you're going to do quarterly throughout 2025. Just given the nature that that's a larger art, community art project that came from the Arts Committee, we're just reserving that spot for that particular project. That there is a potential that could change, that could shift to the spring of 2026 if there's any issues, but I should know that by the end of this year, right? So.
Right.
It just really depends on how well organized the artist is and any of the other things that could happen within the next year, right?
Okay, great.
I'll be sure to keep everybody in the loop, and I'll likely add that to my announcements going forward, reports back on the Creative Justice Project.
My only other question is, have there been any more applications for the gallery?
I think there's 3 or 4 that have come in.
Oh,
I
okay.
haven't looked at them. Yeah.
Okay, let's looking up.
Yeah, but we'll do another push through all of our channels, and also when I do my communications with the mural artists, I'll mention it as well.
Okay, great, thank you.
And you could try sending yourself to Julian's list.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is what
I
we
have,
did.
yeah. That's another update we have coming up. I don't want to steal the thunder. So I'm good with the gallery then, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that we have 3 or 4 applicants already before the deadline is like a sign that the marketing is working pretty well, I would say. And the other thing just to point out is if we have Seen and Heard and Susan Moffett in 2025, then there's going to be max 2 slots or potentially just 1 slot left, and so it'll be harder to, or there'll just be fewer slots for next year. So I don't know, maybe potentially we would even want to, like, it's pretty far in advance, but like plan things or say allow some of them to be pushed to 2026 if they're.
Sure.
Isn't one of the things that we were talking about too is adjusting the application timeframe so that it's a little bit quicker so the artist can, I think that was mentioned at one of the previous meetings that there was a long period of time between opening an application and when it's finally done. Perhaps we might want to truncate that a bit, like we get into a conversation about the foyer gallery. You also might want to consider doing a different timeline, maybe 2 months, and then you could fit more artists. I don't know what that turnaround time would how realistic that would be to instead of doing a quarter, just doing 2 months or 6 weeks and feature more artists in more turnover in the space.
Yeah, I don't want to get into all of my issues, but I don't want to call them issues, my questions and suggestions as they were. But yeah, all of what you said, it's like maybe timeframes are different. We don't have to be stringent about every, a quarterly kind of thing. And maybe we can adjust depending on who we put in the gallery. So, yeah, those are all things I don't know if people want to get into right now.
It's subcommittee updates, so we'd have to agendize that, but it will be on the agenda in September. So perhaps what we could do is have a broader discussion about the foyer gallery as a committee, and then also the review of the applications, which
Okay.
will need to happen at that same meeting.
Yeah, because my understanding is all these rules that are put into place for the foyer gallery were put into place by a previous art committee,
That's correct.
and we are now the art committee.
That's correct.
So
Yeah, that's 100%
we
correct.
can put in our own rules as long as we're still on the art committee and foist them on the next one if we have to. Okay, thank you, everybody. And if anybody has any questions about the gallery.
Yeah, and I think that Jeremy has said before that that space is, that space is used for art committee activities, and so it could be expanded beyond just what the foyer art gallery program is right now, which definitely for next year.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was leading, is like, I'd like to see it not be so just like, okay, 4 artists, one per quarter. We can expand it, because we've talked about having group shows. And I'd like to expand that a little bit more and maybe review the application process a little bit, because the application process, it's like I look at it and it's like, a lot of people couldn't apply because they don't necessarily fit those criteria. And if we open that up to like students and to brand new artists and to individuals and groups, we could really expand what's going on there.
Can't get too much into the discussion of that, but point taken, and then, so we can look at that at the September meeting, for sure.
Thanks for accommodating me.
There's nothing else for foyer art gallery subcommittee. We can move on to the murals. Is there anything else beyond the selection panel stuff to talk about?
No.
All right, so then we can move on to the sculpture loan subcommittee. So I'm just checking in, have we put together a contract or just to purchase the Jeff Downing sculpture?
Yeah, I believe that the city attorney's working on that now.
Yeah, and then I guess, other than that, this is kind of on the back burner at the moment, and so maybe something for the next cycle to talk about. And I don't think I have any documents to send to you, but if I have anything, I'll send that over to you so that you can. And also, I guess since this is the other subcommittee I'm a part of, and then you'll also be the only person, but maybe for a few months. I don't know if you are interested in having somebody else, but also if this is on the back burner, maybe it's not necessary to have another person on the subcommittee.
I mean, it's up to you guys if you guys want to help out.
I think that also what will happen after September, I think we'll be able to put out the request for artists for this. I think that maybe looking at October and November for that which might slate everything into springtime, summertime. So we should be able to move forward with that, because that you all have already done the work for that. So there won't be that much more to do for a while.
Yeah, so are we, I guess, I don't know if this is a good time to talk about it, but are we going to leave both of those committees with just Brad for the foyer art gallery and just Melanie for the sculpture loan? Does that sound okay with everybody?
I'm absolutely open if anybody wants to join.
Yeah, I'm open as well.
Okay.
I mean, I'm kind of new to the subcommittee, so there's still a lot of things that I don't know, so maybe some help would be appreciated, but it's I mean, you guys have a lot on your hands too, so.
I think one of the things we can't do is we can't vote during subcommittee updates, so we'd have to agendize this in the next meeting if we want to add different members to the subcommittee. So that'll be part of our future agenda items, and then we can add or modify the membership of the subcommittees. Potentially create new subcommittees if you want to do that in September.
Just a note on the gallery subcommittee. I don't know how you felt, Emily, but it's really not that hard of a job.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that the foyer art gallery, it's nice to have 2 people just because there's like kind of fixed dates with when the gallery is happening, and it's nice to just make, to have double pairs to just, so someone's at everything, but
Yeah.
that's kind of one of you've been handling most of it all by yourself. So.
Yes, but there was a time when I couldn't make the reception, which I didn't really do much at the receptions I did go to, but you need to be there. Somebody needs to be there. So it's nice to have a second. So that's all I got.
Yeah, I think that one would be nice to have somebody. The sculpture loan, if this cycle ends at the end of this year, I don't think it's necessary to have somebody else, just because if the application calls go out in August, or no, in October, then we wait 3 months, 90 days for it, then that pushes us into 2025 in a new committee. So I think that there's not much action items left in this year for the sculpture loan committee. But yeah, maybe still a good agenda item for September. Okay, next is Arts Committee, Subcommittee, Marketing Subcommittee.
I don't have any updates. Yet.
Well, we put together the email list, or Julian did, and
And you as well.
yeah, I put in a few. I created some
Created
graphics, and then I put
email
together.
list too, or not.
Oh, yeah,
email,
yeah.
But
Yeah, we made an email for the marketing subcommittee, and I put together an email to send out to that email list. So hopefully that helped in gathering artists for murals, and yeah.
Maybe in our applications, we need to add in a field for where they heard about it.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be nice, because I feel like we sent out a lot of emails. And it'd be interesting to know if any of those emails worked,
Yeah.
or if they just all came through, I don't know, through Albany E-News or whatever.
There are people coming from all around the state of California, so yeah. So people who have done work. I mean, many of them are Bay Area artists, but a lot of them have done work throughout the state and the nation and internationally. So there is. So it seems to me that the word has spread somehow, more so than an e-news on the City of Albany website. So.
And I think we're always open to adding to our lists of contacts too.
I tried to add to it and wasn't able to, so,
Talk to her.
We'll check the permissions for
Yeah.
the Google
Yeah.
Sheet.
yeah. So I just saved it as my own and kept the names of who I added.
Okay.
Yeah, nice. That's nice, great, and really helpful for all of the applications. Okay, if there's nothing else for Arts Committee, Marketing Subcommittee, then we can move on to the Heron Sculpture Restoration Subcommittee.
Yes, so I contacted Mr. Canepa and we called. He gave me some very interesting information. Mainly, he isn't looking for his priorities aren't in, let's restore it exactly how it was before. He actually recommended multiple courses of action, including filling the whole thing with gunite, a type of concrete. After he emphasized that there's a pipe that goes through it that needs to be looked at to see if there's any structural problems with it. But after that, he said we could either fill it with gunite, and then I believe remove the steel on the outside. We could, let me see. He recommended, I talked with him later, and he suggested that his covering the entire sculpture with fiberglass. And he believes that might be the best option because it's the lightest in terms of weight. And in that case, we would have to cover it with, I believe, car paint. I'm not sure how that works, but he gave some really good suggestions on this. And he also talked about covering it with foam and having a hard coat of foam on it, which would also solve that issue. But how far along is it in the public works area?
So we'll probably have them do an evaluation in August or September, looking at their schedule. With recommendations like that, that would be beyond the scope, obviously, of Public Works to be able to do. So it might be good to have him, the Arts Committee may want to consider asking the artist for some proposals for what the different costs and treatments would be. And there may be a cost associated with having him put together documentation for what the process would be if he wasn't going to do it himself. That may be something to consider, and we want to get some pricing. I think what Public Works would be looking at is filling rust, repairing, painting, something that would be kind of like typical sort of Public Works response to this. If it was anything other than that, we would need to have plans or some sort of specs for exactly how it'd be done. And then finding a contractor that would be willing to work with the artist to implement that type of work. And before any of that happened, we'd need to know what the ballpark options are, for foam as opposed to fiberglass, as opposed to gunite, and where that lands. Are these $25,000 projects, $100,000 projects? It's not just like going to getting some Rust-Oleum at Ace and, going out there.
He actually texted me this morning. If they would like a plan of action, I can help you with that. And then he also said later he would contact someone in the area that works in fiberglass, as in we should, but he would if he was in our position.
Yeah.
But definitely all ideas are within the budget. Hope this helps, but again, I'm willing to make a plan.
Yes.
Do some research on the different concepts.
I think if he's willing to do that, I'd say yes. And that way the committee could have something to look at and evaluate and make a decision.
So I should ask him to create some sort of plan to do with the fiberglass?
Well, I think what we'd probably want is some sort of report with options in a written form with some ballpark prices. And if he needs to charge for his time to do that, he could contact us. If he's already got it and it's not a big deal, he can send us an email with if you go this route, it's this price, here are the 3 different options that I recommend. Then the committee we could agendize this and discuss it, and I could help present some more background for this project.
So I will contact him saying, will you please put your options into a kind of formal written format that we can then go over them and provide compensation.
Yes. If he's willing to do it for free, I would start that first. If he says, oh, that's a lot of work, and said, well, yes, yeah, I think that is something that would be appropriate.
I agree. I think the options are like, what's it going to take, what's it going to cost, and what will the outcome be? Will it look like the original sculpture, or will it be changed somehow?
Yeah, because say, for example, it's a $100,000 project. If it's a $100,000 project, which it very well could be, then the committee might want to decide, hey, maybe this particular piece of public art is at the end of its life cycle, and there is some other place that needs something else, and the committee would discuss that. So
I could put it in my backyard, actually.
And in that case, we could still go with the status quo of Public Works doing a restoration.
yeah, unless the artist has any strong objections, in terms of the representation of his artwork.
I think he seemed like a very relaxed kind of guy. To my thank you very much text, he responded with 2 emojis on the side of a sunglasses face emoji. So I think we're chill.
All right, so we're chill. Yeah, all right. He didn't put periods after every single sentence in his
No.
text. Okay.
Did you have a sense that these ideas that he had are ways to like revive this art, or are these just like solutions to restore it?
I think he feels a little bit, he mentioned how he didn't think about, it being so close to the ocean, that there are some spots where the water collects, salt water collects, and that kind of corrodes the rust. I think he's thinking about this more as like let's keep it up, let's just kind of keep it going instead of spending a lot of money. He understands that, it's at the end of its life cycle almost, but it would be nice to keep it for, maybe 10 or 20 more years.
Yeah, if it's viewed as just another these different ideas of restoration, then I guess we would just simply compare like the different costs and the longevities of these different options versus like if this is viewed as like an artistic spin or a redo of this, then then maybe there's more weight or more discussion of like
Yeah.
if you want like more or something.
I did not get the sense that he was trying to revamp it in any way. If anyone has any questions, I'd love to answer them.
Yeah, I don't know if this is easier to suggest them, but we already have an estimate of how much the current restoration would cost. And so if you just throw that number out, like right now it's budgeted or we expect it to be like $7,000 or $8,000, and then he says, oh, these options are, way more than that, then maybe that's all we need to know.
Right.
Unless it lasts much longer and we want that.
Well, yeah, I would say that the current estimate, I think that was like, what, 2014 or 2015?
Like 11.
Yeah. 2011, was it $12,000 in 2011? Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so
And we have 8,000 allotted for the Heron School.
yeah, right, so I think that, it doesn't mean that can't change. The Arts Committee certainly can make some modifications to the remainder of the funds that are available in the arts fund for the city. However, it's not unlimited, so especially since there is a large investment in the murals program, it leaves less money for a big sculpture at the waterfront.
But do you think it is It is cheaper to restore an old sculpture than to build an entirely new one of the same size. No?
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to say. If the committee was interested in doing anything new at the waterfront, that would be, I think what you'd also be looking at is time, right? So even if you started considering this right now, then it'd be 3 years from now before you see something, really happening. So it's art that's there now, and if it can be repaired and the committee has a desire to keep it there, which I think that is what the committee has expressed so far, is worth finding out what the real costs are right now in 2024. And then with that, then the committee can make decisions.
So get a written report of his estimates on how much options cost and give a presentation.
Yeah, I think it would be useful to have some visual images to see kind of, what does a metal sculpture that's been modified with fiberglass, what does that look like? I don't know, and I would imagine that the committee members and the public here in Albany aren't really familiar. So either make it be something as simple as here's some links or here's some images. But I think if there's a few different options that he recommends, it would be good to know some ballpark prices. We don't need real plans, but we need to know, this is, around $5,000, or this is usually around $15,000, something like that. And I think to what Emily was saying is is this a fix that will, 5, 10 years? Is it 20 years? And how much, what sort of change happens to the look of the piece, if at all?
That's a good point. And what happens if it's covered in fiberglass 5 years down the road and it's covered in salt water and, who knows? Does that erode it?
And then there's also, there'll be environmental considerations that the Arts Committee would want to look at. Is fiberglass the type of material that Albany wants to install close to the ocean, right? There's a lot of surfboards that go into the water, but, is there any, as it begins to decompose, do you want all of those, VOC particles, flying around, whatever. So those would be things that the Arts Committee would discuss at a future meeting once you all look at the, some of what these options are.
And what is our budget for compensation?
You could just have him I think, whatever, if he has an hourly rate or something like that, it kind of depends on how much time and research he would need to put together. But, if it's under $1,000, I think it should be fine. But it really depends on how extensive the report and the presentation and the production is. If it's just an email, I don't, email with some hyperlinks, but if he's going to send us some real documentation so that we can move forward with finding a contractor, and there's, okay, these are the designs, this is who you should go to, here's 3 examples, and this is all a report and presentation. He wants to come, do a virtual presentation for the committee and talk you through everything. That's more in the lines of consulting work, which is usually in the range of $150 to $350 an hour, right? Something like that. I don't know. There's a lot of variables, but you could pass them on to me, and I could work through all the details on that.
Would it be strange to let him know that we have an opening for another sculpture in Albany?
He does live in Palm Springs currently.
Oh, does
So
that take him out of the?
I'm not aware that the sculpture loan program has to be an Albany or a Bay Area artist. I don't know if there's any specifications.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that we've talked about trying to expand our reach to the Bay Area, but then I definitely don't remember within the 5 Bay Area counties or something like
Yeah, I don't think it says, I mean, if somebody came from Iceland and they wanted to loan a sculpture, I don't know if we have anything that says that we couldn't do that.
But it does affect, like with the murals.
Yes.
I mean, we made that up, but
Yeah.
we made it be that they had to be Northern California resident,
Yeah.
so that they can come easily fix it if it needs fixing.
He did go to El Cerrito High, so he's from around here.
So he's invested.
But that is, if there are no other questions or comments surrounding the Heron sculpture, I have no more updates.
Guess open it for public comment if there is any. I don't see any hands raised, so I think it's safe to say there's no public comment on this item.
Right, then we can move on to future agenda items. So is there anything, I guess, just with me leaving the committee, then a big item is to discuss how to fill that huge void that I am leaving behind.
So there'll be a couple options at the next meeting. I'm assuming that our vice chair will be able to handle that first meeting. The other kind of reality is that everybody's term is up in December. So everybody here on the committee will have to submit a new application and be appointed by a council member in January. So that would leave just 3 meetings. So the committee could decide to select a new chair for the next 3 meetings. Or just continue status quo if the vice chair wants to just hold it over, just kind of keep it going until the next one. So those would be the 2 courses of action, because whoever gets appointed chair will only be chair for a few meetings, and it may, yeah, so.
I would love to be chair even for a few meetings, mainly because, college applications are at that time.
So, and in assembling the agenda for the next meeting, I'll be working with the vice chair on that. So, those will be, and in talking with the city clerk, that was the one thing that she mentioned to me, that we didn't necessarily need to do it at this meeting, but we could do it at the September meeting. But likely that would happen at the end of the September meeting, so that we just get down to business and take care of all of the foyer gallery applications, whatever needs to be decided potentially by the panelists, the panel discussion. Those will all be things that will be on the September agenda.
Terms are 2 years.
2 years, correct, yeah.
I believe this is only my first year.
But you're appointed midway through the cycle.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it cuts into the, okay.
Yeah, so the next cycle will start with the new council that will be elected in November, and then they'll start well, some are returning. I think there's 2 vacancy, or there's 2 council seats that will be open for election. So.
Does that mean most likely, again, it's gonna be like January, February, first few meetings next year are gonna not be held because?
No, hopefully not. Hopefully they're on it. There's enough applications. Hopefully, I would encourage everybody here to apply again, and then hopefully and talk with your council member and say, yeah, I want to do this again, because it's the council members who appoint the committee members, and if you're in communication with your council member or whoever made the appointment, say, yeah, I'm definitely planning on applying again. I really would like to do it. I love my work on the Arts Committee. We're doing good work.
How many people can the council members submit?
One.
Just one, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
I've got Jennifer Hansen Romero in my pocket.
Who was the high school, not the high school, the school district appointee?
So, no, that would be you, I think. It's Julian.
I was appointed by, I was.
But I think next year you would still, you're still in school, so that would still work for you.
Correct, yeah, there's two, yeah. Yeah, yeah, there would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Well, I think on the website, I've already been removed.
yeah, so, yeah.
I wouldn't take that personally.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was, yeah.
It's Jeremy sending a message. Yeah.
You're gone, you're dead to me.
Someone's been monitoring my phone activity and my location.
So, yeah, so that will be the process in September.
Well, yeah, I think that you would be a great chair, so I fully support that. And I think that that's a great, that'd be a good opportunity for you too.
Okay.
Okay, and no more future agenda items. It's the foyer art gallery discussion, September.
Yes,
In addition to that.
yes. I'm sorry to put you guys through it, but yes.
You know, one thing that will be changing next year, the city clerk just mentioned to me that the school board will not be making appointments next year. There will be all council appointments, so 5 per council and 2 members as a whole represent. So the application will still go, it just won't go to the school board. So for you as somebody who's appointed by the school board, you will now be be appointed or would be appointed by the city council instead.
Is there a December meeting? There is, right?
There is, yeah.
Okay.
And since Arts Committee meets the early part of the month, it's not usually disrupted by Halloween, not disrupted by Thanksgiving, not winter break, all that.
I'm expecting a child in
Yeah.
November, so I probably will not be able to make the
Yeah.
December meeting.
Yeah, for good reason. Congratulations.
Disruptive.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Your second?
Second child, so excited and terrified.
Second ones they're always the best.
Are you a second
I
child? I'm also a second child, so I concur. Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, if there's nothing else, I'll adjourn this meeting for the final time.
Thank you, Emily. Yeah, it's been great. Thank you.
Thanks, Emily.
Can we take a picture together? Maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.